There's no better sound than silence as you walk on stage. Thanks. That was good. Yeah, my name's Jake. I'm a comedian and a writer from Liverpool. I'm here to talk to you today, as just been described, as from a patient's point of view. I'm not an academic. I'm not a professional. I've got a degree, but it's in media, so it doesn't count. And it's from Liverpool Hope, so it definitely doesn't count. Anyone who doesn't know Liverpool Hope, it's called Hope for a reason, because that's the only qualification you need to get in. And it's the only thing that you leave without as well. So, but I am here as just a normal lad. I'm here as somebody who lived a pretty normal life, who got unwell, didn't really know what it was, suffered with depression for probably just over a year, maybe, and built it all up inside to a point when just coming up to 4 years ago, I tried to take my own life. And I didn't ever think that I would be somebody who would do that. I didn't think that I'd be somebody who'd be depressed. But it kind of just, it crept up on me and it got me from nowhere. And the main thing, as I've already said, is I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what I was feeling was fixable, treatable, preventable. I didn't know. I just thought that I'd just grown up. And I've become an adult, and this is kind of what it was like. You know, you've got responsibilities, you leave school, you leave university, you get a job, you struggle for money. This is kind of life. And I just thought that's what it was. I thought I'd changed as a person. So I didn't really know how to handle that or how to deal with it. I hadn't had any experience of this before in the past. I had no family history of it whatsoever. So I just kept everything up inside, and the way that I would describe how I felt when I was going through depression was a little bit like being stuck underwater. It's probably the best way I can describe it, and to put it a little bit more recognizable, it's like if you're watching the film and somebody's stuck in a car underwater. We've all seen those scenes in films, and you're watching them, and you're panicking for them, you're trying to breathe for them, and as they're struggling to get out, you want to feel that breath for them. And that's how I felt every single day. I felt like I was watching myself underwater. I felt like every day I was treading water. Some days my head would be above, some days it would go below, but every day felt like a struggle. And I felt numb. I felt numb to feelings. My brain was telling me I should feel a certain way, but my heart and my body just couldn't feel it. And that made me feel worse. That made me feel more guilty. I just couldn't feel anything, whether it was love, whether it was anger. I just couldn't enjoy the things that I would normally enjoy. I'd go to the Everton match and I just couldn't enjoy it. That's a bad example, but I couldn't even be disappointed at them. That's how bad it was. But I didn't know what it was, so I suppressed everything inside. Now, you might hear people who say that they drink to feel numb. I did turn to drink. I didn't become dependent on it, but I turned to drink for an answer, for a solution, because I felt numb every day. So I drank to feel. I thought, if I have a drink, maybe I'll open up. Maybe I'll laugh again. Maybe I'll enjoy myself. Maybe people will enjoy me. But the feelings that had been suppressed, when I had a drink, they came flying out. And that would be as anger, that would be as paranoia, that would probably be as aggression. And that would get me into different altercations. And I actually got into an altercation with a bouncer. Now, I know looking at me, you'd be surprised to know, but I lost that fight. That's not a joke. Why are you laughing at that bit? And as a result of that, I was actually offered counselling. And I was offered counselling through all the different legal things and with the doctors and everything. But I thought I could probably do with this. So I took it. Now, for me, it was CBT, and it was in Liverpool. And for me, the counselling just didn't work. It wasn't necessarily that it didn't work for me while I was in the sessions, but the setup didn't work for me. Because I was going into these 1-hour sessions. You go in, you do your questionnaire, you say your general hellos, you catch up. You have probably about 45 to 50-minute session. And I was opening up about things. Things that I didn't even know that I was covering up, that I was suppressing, things that I did. And I was opening up, and the counsellor made me feel really safe and welcome, and I was happy to talk to her about that. But then I was leaving those sessions feeling worse than when I went in. It was a case of, okay, you've done well there, I'll speak to you again next week. And I was leaving, going back into the big bad world, feeling worse than when I went in, feeling more vulnerable than when I went in, and there was nothing for me in between. It was just a case of, okay, go and deal with it yourself now, and then come back next week and do the exact same thing again. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to put myself through it. So as a result of that, I covered up. I lied to the counsellor. And I became a really good liar through depression. I have to give that counsellor a lot of credit because she did nothing wrong. She actually made me feel really safe. She made me feel reassured. She told me about what depression was. We had that conversation. She told me about antidepressants. She told me about how I won't be addicted to them, how they will help me, how I'll be better off for them, how I can go to a doctor, and how the doctor won't judge me. The doctor will talk to me as a person, and he'll help me. And I felt really good for that. I felt confident. So I went into a doctor, and I had an appointment, and this is the first time I'd ever spoken to any, apart from the counsellor, any other professional about this and to seek help. And I went into a doctor in the local GP surgery, and I went in and I sat down and I said, he said, how can I help you? And I said, well, I think I'm depressed and that I need antidepressants. And he said, okay, well, why do you think that? And I said, well, I've been seeing the counsellor and she told me. And he said, well, I'm the doctor, I'll tell you what you've got, not her. And I said, it doesn't matter. And I left. And I left upset, visibly upset, really, really vulnerable. And there was nothing to follow that up. There was nothing to say, maybe we should just check that he's okay. There was nothing at all. I didn't have anything. So the person I'd gone to for help, the person who I'd been reassured would help me, actually made me feel worse. I kept going back to the counsellor, and I actually went to 3 different doctors. And it was the 3rd doctor who actually offered me antidepressants. And she spoke to me like a person. I'll always remember. I went in, and it was a woman doctor, and she said, I feel like I'm depressed. And she said, that's okay, which straight away made me feel better. And she said, right, can I just ask, have you ever felt like doing yourself in? And it's just the way she said it. It just made me smile. It made me go, actually, do you know what? She's talking to me as a person here. And it made me open up. And I was willing to open up, and she gave me antidepressants. I went back to the counsellor, and as I said, the sessions weren't working for me, so I just lied and lied and lied. I covered everything up, and the counsellor was happy with my progress, and she discharged me as fit and healthy. It was 2 weeks after that is when I tried to take my own life. Now, when I was depressed, I felt like for months and months and months I lived with thousands of thoughts going around my head, all at the same time, all as loud as each other. And I couldn't channel any of those thoughts. I couldn't even hear any of those thoughts. And that was the most frustrating way to live. It was horrible. It was horrific. All I'd done every day was beg for a moment of clarity, beg for a clear thought. That's all I wanted. And I couldn't get it until this one day I got an absolute crystal clear thought that I begged for so long. And it just said, kill yourself. And when I'd wanted that, when I'd longed for that for so long, to get it, I had absolutely no reason to doubt it whatsoever. because that's what I wanted. I wanted to feel like I was in control of something, as if I could actually make sense of something. So to have a moment and a thought so clear to say, kill yourself, it made absolute sense. So I did, or at least I tried to. I pulled over to a safe place and I tried to cut my wrist. And I don't know how, but my girlfriend found me in my car before it was too late. She didn't know where it was. She knew something was wrong. I turned my phone off. She just followed whatever it was that guided her to me, and she found me before it was too late. And I'm in an incredibly lucky and privileged position in that I've been on the brink of death, on the brink of suicide, and I've come through to be able to see the other side. And I still hear people, and it's fine. People who say, well, suicide is a selfish act. And people say that to me when I give these talks. People say to me, well, suicide is a selfish act. What about your family? What about your loved ones? What about your girlfriend who you're planning on having a family with? Why didn't you think of them? And as I say, I'm in an incredibly privileged position because I can see from their point of view now why you might think that. But I would say to anyone saying that about suicide being a selfish act, that you will say to me, well, why didn't you think of your girlfriend? I did. I did think of her. She was the exact reason why I was doing it. My mum and dad were the reason I was doing it. Because for me, in that position, in that frame of mind, I thought it was the best possible thing I could do for them. Because I was sick. I was unwell. I wasn't thinking straight. And in my head, suicide and taking my own life was not a selfish act. It was a selfless act. I was doing everything I was about to do for them because I felt like a burden to them. I felt like I'd taken over their lives. And I thought, yeah, they'll be sad for a bit, but once you get over the funeral, that's the worst bit and you can carry on. And I genuinely, hand on heart, believed that up until the moment afterwards when I had to face my parents. I had to look at my mum and see the sheer devastation. It was only then, and I promise you, it was only then that I realized just what I was about to do and the impact it was going to have on them. Now, the police had been told about what had happened. My girlfriend, she had told them that I was missing. She'd reported that. So when I was found and they had to update, the police had to come out to see me. Now, they came out to the house, and this police officer came in and he sat me in a room on my own. And he sat opposite me and he said, how are you feeling? And I said, yeah, okay. And he said, well, you're not going to do that again, are you? And I said, no. And he went, all right, good lad. And then he left. And he didn't say to me, if you do feel like you're going to do that again. He didn't say, are you receiving any help? He didn't say, are you under any care? He didn't say, are you on any medication? He didn't say, do you know your doctor to speak to? Do you know anyone to speak to? He didn't say, do you have any support? He didn't ask me anything. He didn't offer me anything. He literally treated me like a naughty little boy and left me. And I would say that was probably the most vulnerable I've ever been. Because at least when I was trying to kill myself, at least I felt in control. At least I felt like it was my decision. At least I felt like I was thinking about it and I was doing it. To come through that, to have to deal with not only the things I was trying to escape from, but also the guilt, the shame, the reality of what that was going to do to my family, my mum, my dad, my girlfriend, to have the scars, to do all that and not know what was going to happen or where I could turn to or how I was possibly going to get over it. That was the most vulnerable I've ever been. And for that police officer to have that contact, to have that opportunity, to put his arm around me and say, right, You've hit rock bottom, but you're never going to be here again. We'll make sure that you get through it. To him, to have that opportunity and to squander it was an utter disgrace. It really, really was. I phoned the doctors again the next day. He didn't have an appointment, so I had to do it over the phone. And it was a different doctor, and he said, "Do you want any antidepressants?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Okay, we'll just double it." And literally, that was the last ever conversation I ever had with a professional about my mental health. I went away on holiday, and I just had to deal with things myself. I stopped taking my medication, and I built my life back up, basically. I know I'm going on here, aren't I? But I've got like a couple more minutes, do you reckon? Yeah, 2 more. Okay. Right. Let's speed this up. So I was left completely alone. To fast forward the last 4 years, I spoke out about what I'd gone through, not to help anybody else, not to be brave, not to get attention, purely because people on social media found out about what I'd gone through and were mocking me and were skitting me, basically. So to take that away from them, I decided to speak out about what I'd gone through. And as a result of that, it went mad. Social media went mad, and then it was the media were picking up on it. So the local paper done a story on it, and then it was national press, and then it was being asked to go on national television to give interviews about it, radio, all different kinds. And I said yeah because I felt like it was the right thing to do. But I don't think I was ever really prepared for it, because every single time I did an interview and continue to do an interview, I will receive messages from complete and utter strangers asking me for help, thanking me for what I've said because it's resonated with them. People asking for advice for loved ones. But I would get people messaging me saying, "I'm going to kill myself now. I'm about to do it, and I need you to stop me." And it just made me think, for somebody to hear my interview, to listen out for my name, to go on my website, to find my email address and put really personal information into an email to me, why are they doing that to me? Why are they doing that to me and not to a loved one or to a doctor? The reason they're doing that is because they're seeing hope in somebody being where they are and coming through the other side. And it was then that I realized the importance of real life experience, to say that it is normal, that this is okay. Mental health is one of the most normal things you can think of, because every single person in the world has mental health. We all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. And just like with our physical health, it can go up and it can go down. We can have good, we can have bad days. And it can be helped, it can be fixed. We just don't know enough about it. We just don't know where to turn. The difference between seeking help for physical health or ill health is that we know, we understand, and we trust the process to get better. With mental health, we don't know it, we don't understand it, and we certainly don't trust that process. And that's what we need to do. So by speaking out, see how I'm getting faster here. By speaking out about it and be kind of accidentally becoming a bit of a figure on it, I decided I had to do something about it. I didn't want it to be about me and my story and just come on here and wheel me on into different programs and stuff and say, "Oh, tell us about that time you tried to kill yourself," and then go, "All right, see you," and then that's it. I wanted to have a meaning, a purpose, something that I could do to help people. So I created a charity called Chasing the Stigma. And through the charity, we're creating a national database of organisations that exist across the country who offer mental health help and support and advice. Grassroots organisations, places that already exist that aren't NHS, that don't necessarily have a waiting list, places where you can go, charities, groups where you can go, you can walk in, you can be with people who are going through what you're going through. And the idea is we're going to launch that as an app in 2 weeks. I've been talking about it for 3 years, and in 2 weeks we're about to do it. It's called the Hub of Hope, and it's through Chasing the Stigma. It's going to be free to use, and it's basically, the best way to describe it is the Just Eat of the mental health world. You put in your postcode, and it will tell you places that exist around you, places where you can just go and you can get help. And just to kind of to end it, and really the reason behind that is, as you've already heard this morning, there's people doing fantastic work across the country that already exist, that already are doing life-saving work, and we just don't know about them. It's too hard to find that help, and it shouldn't be. We all should be pulling in the same direction and helping and learning from each other. And if that counsellor, at the end of that session, she would have done exactly the same thing, but at the end of that session would have said to me, and here's a card for the Hub of Hope, places that exist around where you are, and you can go and you can get help until I see you next time. If that doctor would have done exactly the same, but said, here's places that's available. If that policeman would have done exactly the same, but at least gave me a card and said there is help available, you don't have to be alone. It could have been a difference between, or it can be the difference between somebody attempting suicide again or not. And that's what we have to remember today, is that the same old way isn't even getting the same old results. It's getting consistently worse results. There's no one way of fixing things, so we have to do things differently. We have to think of the patient. We have to think of the people, because it could be any of us here. So you have to think of yourself. Throughout today, I would say to you to remember one thing. If your loved one came to you and said, where do I go for help? Would you know what to do? Would you know how to help them? And just remember that when you're looking at these different things today, because you can make a massive, massive difference. Also, we need funding for the Hub of Hope. Just thought I'd put that in. So, yeah, thank you. Do you want to do questions? Or?
Thank you, Jake. An amazingly powerful presentation, and really sad, actually, but great that you're doing something about this to help other people in the same situation.